Now, I'll come back to what the Ukrainians would need, what we must supply them with. But when you say the Ukrainians could actually drive Russia out completely, are you including even the Crimea, which Russia took in 2014? That seems a hard nut to crack. You think that really the entire country could be liberated?
I absolutely do. We've looked at this pretty hard at the Institute for the Study of War. We believe they can approach in the south in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast and cut the MSRs that lead to the land bridge to Crimea. There's two of them moving from west to east. Then bring forward all of their long-range artillery, ATACMS and drones, and what aircraft they do have, and pummel the military bases in Crimea, the depots for fuel and ammunition, the staging areas for the drones, and in time move in their combined arms ground forces as well to achieve the same kind of success they're going to achieve in the approach to Ukraine moving south. The Russians are so vulnerable to a combined arms offensive operation against them. It doesn't take much to break through their lines, and once you're through their lines, you begin to roll up their capability. What the Ukrainians achieved some of this back in July, if you recall, of last year, Andrew, but they were not able to complete it because while the Biden administration had given them enough to start the offensive, they didn't give them sufficient weapons to complete it. They could not exploit success. And hopefully by the summer time frame, they'll have the full capability to exploit that kind of success.
Well, let me talk about that because you wrote a superb article last week saying this war wouldn't last this long if President Biden actually committed to victory. He did go to pose with Ukraine's president the other day. He said he was all in. But what is he actually failing to do? Because the sort of combined operations you're talking about suggests to me, and I've got no military background apart from a little bit of Army Reserve way back when I was a student, it seems to involve air cover at the minimum, and they don't have an air force, an operational one, and they would need to be trained in the tanks that are finally now being delivered there. What else do they need? Are we going to supply them with planes now?
Well, they need more tanks. They're just getting some tanks arriving now. They really requested 300. They'll have something less than 100, I suspect, when they bring their offensive. This is another area of frustration for them because they requested these last summer. And here now, they just will be arriving in the weeks to come. That is handcuffing the Ukrainians from achieving the kind of liberation of their people that if they had the means to do it, they could. The center of gravity for the Ukrainian success is the iron-willed determination of their military supported by their people. And secondly, are the arms and munitions they're receiving from the U.S.-led coalition. But in the same breath, I'll tell you, they haven't received sufficient amount to be as successful as they can be. And when the president says we're going to be there to the end, we're going to be there at the finish, he's actually playing into Putin's hands because Putin is playing for time. He thinks eventually he can outlast the Ukrainians. He has people 3-1. He has huge ammunition and equipment shortages himself. But he also believes he can outlast the U.S.-led Western coalition because he thinks the political will and resolve will eventually evaporate. And they won't stay the course. That's what he's counting on. So what we should be doing is give them everything they need as quickly as possible to end it as quickly as possible.
I'd love Australia to back that up by sending its tanks. We haven't used the tank in actual warfare in decades and decades now. We've got 60 or 70 of them, which are essentially just rolling scrap because they're no good to us at the moment. I can't understand why we don't send some tanks. General Jack Keane, thank you so much indeed for your time.